So now we're going to look at how you can go about choosing a broker. So a broker is very simply just a firm that executes your trades in the market. So they provide traders with access to a platform to buy and sell currencies, and your broker is where you will deposit your capital to trade with, and they will provide you with leverage. So essentially, we're going to do all of our analysis on a third-party charting software, such as TradingView, which obviously we just went through in the previous lesson. And it's on TradingView, which is where we're going to be sort of identifying our potential trading opportunities. And then when a trading setup does occur, we then go to our broker's platform to actually execute and get into the market and then manage our position and our trades. So what I would do is I would highly recommend that you keep your chart analysis and your brokerage account completely separate. I wouldn't personally be tempted to connect my broker to TradingView or even use my broker's chart for performing my analysis on. And the reason for this is primarily because you do not want to see your profit and loss fluctuating when you're in a trade and when you're looking at your charts, because that's only going to increase the chances of you making an emotional mistake, right? Now, another reason, it's a bit more of a minor reason, but if you are drawing your analysis on your broker's charts, it can definitely be a lot easier, especially than you may initially think. It can be a lot easier to accidentally alter your trade orders or even cancel or exit a trade by mistake. So it's just best to keep them completely separate, in my opinion. Now, choosing a broker is usually a step that, on one end of the scale, traders either massively overcomplicate it, or on the other end of the scale, they do absolutely zero due diligence. And they just sign up to the first random dodgy broker that they see on Google, or, someone trying to hit them up on Instagram and get them to sign up. So choosing a broker really doesn't have to be a complex process, but there are just a few key characteristics that you may wish to consider when you are choosing one. So the first of those is sort of any geographic restriction. Now, what I mean by that is it can hugely depend on where you live in the world, because some brokers restrict accounts to certain geographic locations. So the first thing to check is, can you even open an account with that broker that you're looking at in whatever country, state, or province you live in? Now, once you've actually found a broker that you can open an account with in your country, then the next most important step is to actually check if they are regulated by a decent regulator, or ideally a regulator that is in your country. Now, definitely don't choose a broker that has zero regulation, no matter what shiny deal that they may offer you, because you're just asking for trouble if you do that. Now, there are plenty of reputable brokers who are regulated worldwide. So for instance, in the UK, the financial regulator is called the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority. In Australia, it's ASIC. And then in the United States, it's both the CFTC and the NFA, I believe. So just research whoever the regulator is in your own country. So yeah, as a general rule of thumb, if a broker is regulated by the financial regulatory body of any of the G12 countries, then it should be absolutely fine and safe for you to deposit your money with them. Now, the rest of the characteristics that we're going to discuss are listed in not really any sort of particular order of importance, but just some things that you might want to consider collectively. So the leverage that the broker makes available to you is, definitely something that you want to take into account, because it does vary dramatically with different brokers, ranging anywhere from 2-to-1 all the way up to 500-to-1. And in some circumstances, I've seen even more than that. But it will depend on what country you are in and who regulates it. Now, for a full refresher on exactly how leverage and margin works, I would recommend that you rewatch the video called How to Make Money Trading FX in the introductory module. So there are various factors that come into play when deciding what amount of leverage to choose for your brokerage account, such as slippage, negative balance protection, and capital partitioning. And then for a refresher on these, make sure you rewatch the videos in the risk management module. Now, be aware of the transaction and the commission costs of your broker, kind of compared to maybe other brokers that you're looking at. Now, we're going to cover exactly what these are later in the next lesson, but generally, the lower the costs, right, the better, just as long as there is no sacrifice in value. Now, confirm that the minimum deposit requirement for opening an account actually suits your budget, because there are kind of some brokerage firms that can require sometimes up to $10,000 to start with. So obviously that might be fine for some traders, but not for others. Now, some dodgy and generally unregulated brokers, they may have a sort of deliberately confusing fund withdrawal process. The requirement of lengthy phone calls, jumping through hoops, providing excessive amounts of personal information just to withdraw cash that is rightfully yours, that is a sign of business operations that, the intelligent trader just does not associate with. So fund withdrawal should be as simple as literally just nominating a bank account, typing in a figure, and clicking literally a few buttons. So all the large and regulated and the reputable brokers, they will ensure that both the deposit and the withdrawal process is, just really simple and elegant. Now, customer service, it's not really something that people often think about initially when opening up a brokerage account, but it is something that I would highly recommend that you look in for your broker, especially if you encounter a problem that you need immediate help with. So before opening an account, I would recommend that you call the help desk, with a fake question, just to test how long it takes to, even get a response from them. Check if they have a support desk in your country, and if they don't, then just see what hours are they actually open in your local time zone. Just make sure that you're happy with it, right? Now, most of the top brokers do generally have a 24/5 chat support, and it has improved a lot over the recent years. So if you are stuck deciding between two worthy candidates, I would generally just say keep it simple and go with size. So choose the broker that has the largest amount of brokerage accounts and client assets under management. If you look at any of the big brokers such as IC Markets, Oanda or Saxo Bank, for example, the probability of those companies going under, obviously it's possible, but it is somewhat lower than, a new kid off the block sort of brokerage house. Now, you may also want to consider which platforms your broker offers. Are you using a Mac or are you on a PC? Many brokers still do not offer Mac apps for their trading software. But there are alternatives where you can use high-end web-based platforms that a lot of them have if they don't offer it for a Mac. But even that said, a lot recently in the last few years have made their platforms available on Mac. So yeah, definitely just have a look into it before you sign up. But anyways, they are sort of the key characteristics I would consider when choosing your broker. Again, the main thing is just to make sure that they're one of the big companies, they operate in your country, and they are regulated by one of the G12 countries' regulators. And then you can't really go too wrong. Now, if you go on social media or on some trading forums, you'll see a lot of disgruntled and sort of naive retail traders. They can often resort to blaming brokers for their lack of success. But like you, me, and pretty much every successful business on earth, brokers have both an altruistic and narcissistic agendas. So just the sooner that we embrace both polarities that permeate everything in the universe, including business and human behavior, then the sooner we can transcend subjective judgment created by subtle infatuations and resentments. Brokers actually provide a very valuable service to their clients, and therefore they deserve to be compensated for their effort. But brokers also look out for themselves, and they do have a tendency to push against the edge of regulation in order to optimize their profits. But by embracing a broker for what it is, and by learning how to operate within the realm of that relationship, traders have access to incredible opportunities at a very low cost that otherwise just simply wouldn't exist. Now, we're going to cover the types of broker fees in the next lesson, but be aware that your broker primarily makes money from your trading volume. So it is therefore in their interest to have you trading as soon as possible and as much as possible. So do not fall victim to the pressure of potentially any salespeople that your broker may ring you up with. Just stand your ground, act intelligently, and make all trading decisions as per your predetermined trade plan. Never trade based on hot tips or expert advice or signals, even if they're coming from your broker. If a salesperson keeps hassling you, ringing you up, asking you to deposit more, deposit sooner, trade more or trade sooner, just say thank you, but no thank you. Fuck off. I've got a detailed plan that I am adhering to. So anyways, with that said, in the next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the different costs in more detail that are involved when you kind of start to look at trading a live personal account.